Begin Self-Publishing, episode number 6. Always judge a book by its cover. Everybody else does.
Interested in self-publishing but don't know where to start? Want to get your book onto Amazon? Want to hold your paperback book in your hands? Learn how on the Begin Self-Publishing podcast with your host, Tim Lewis.
You probably heard the expression, never judge a book by its cover. But clearly everybody does. And this is especially true when it comes to ebooks. You don't actually have a cover as such for an ebook, you just have a picture. You have a little rectangular picture of what would traditionally be the front of the book, which everywhere on Amazon and all the other ebook sites is displayed right next to where your book description is. In fact, on Amazon, when you search for books, most of what you'll see is the book cover, i.e. that little rectangular image. So, for example, on the book chart listings, you'll see a whole load of covers and the book titles. You won't see anything else, apart from possibly review ranking in terms of little stars. So having a very good cover image, as in that rectangular image, can make a tremendous difference to how your book is discovered. A very nice, appropriate cover can sell your book more than virtually anything else. So making sure you pick the correct cover is a very important part of self-publishing. There are 3 options for getting hold of a cover for your ebook. You can commission a custom-made cover from a graphical artist. There are many sites online for doing this. You can make your own cover, or you can buy what is known as a pre-made book cover. This is where an artist has already designed a cover for a specific genre, and you just literally change the title and author name on their pre-made cover, with possibly some minor amendments. In my own personal experience, I've bought both a pre-made cover and I've had a custom-made cover designed using the 99 Designs service. I feel that it's worth spending money on getting a cover designed or buying a pre-made cover. But it is an expense. They're not cheap. You can spend fairly small amounts of money on pre-made covers. Generally speaking, the good thing about covers is that you can assess quality by just looking at them. You can tell the quality of the artwork by just looking at the designs. Not that a necessarily intricate or fantastically artistic cover is possibly the best cover for your book. We'll come on to that later.
You're listening to the Begin Self-Publishing podcast with Tim Lewis.
Pre-made covers are cheaper. They're also very good if you're in a hurry to get a cover for your ebook. If your book is, say, a generic romance novel, or a fairly generic, say, crime thriller, there are artists who have pre-made covers for particular genres. The way that you go about it is you pick out your cover, and then, if they're a good artist, they will then remove that pre-made cover from their selection, and then you in effect are buying that already generic cover design. They change the author name and the book title to fit your description, and that can take a few days. If you commission your own custom-made cover, which you can either go to a particular graphic designer directly, or you can use a service like 99 Designs, where a whole series of cover designers will compete for your custom. There are issues with these competitions. As somebody pointed out to me when I said to them that I was using the 99 Design service, you possibly will get a lower quality of artist, in as much as there is no guarantee of the artist who's submitting their design forward is going to get a return out of it. Now, in my experience, they're not particularly much worse quality than you get elsewhere. the best artists still get the commissions. If you find an artist that you like, and I'll put several links to artists I've either heard of or know of or seem to be good, have a look at their previous designs and see if you can find somebody who's already had a recommendation from other authors or mentioned on sites like Kboards and other places as a good graphic design artist. Book cover design is not necessarily something that any old graphic designer can do. There is a particular skill to making a book design not look amateurish, mainly to do with how the fonts are positioned. And certainly when you get on to doing book cover designs for actual physical books, there's a real skill to doing the spine and the back of the book, which many graphic designers won't necessarily have unless they've had experience of doing book covers before. My own experience of getting graphic designers to create book covers, I've gone down both routes. My first Time Shop book, I bought a custom pre-made cover from demonza.com, which is a South African designer who actually is rather on the expensive side. His pre-made cover was $199. However, it was fantastically appropriate for my time travel novel, which I didn't have a specific concept about, apart from the fact that I wanted a striking cover. So in the end, I was very happy with the purchase I made. I think to buy a custom design cover from demonza.com is over $299. So by buying a pre-made cover, it saved me money. I asked for a copy of the cover without the book title on, so that for later books in the series, I could go into Photoshop and add text on myself for the later books. This is a way, if you have a series of books, you can buy one cover and then use Photoshop or some other tool like Canva to take that original pre-made cover and alter it for the later books. This does depend very much on what the genre is and how you see your series going, but this is a way to save money on book covers. For my Magpies and Magic book, I put the book forward for a 99 Designs competition. What happens with that is that you create a design brief and then a whole series of designers from 99 Designs, who are independent graphic designers, will put forward their own ideas about what the cover should look like. 5 or 6 of those designers will get put forward to the second round of designs and pick up the £199 fee minus whatever 99 Designs take for winning the competition. One thing to be aware of with cover design is to make sure that if it includes any images or pictures in terms of clip art or photographs, the designer and yourself has proper rights to actually make use of that image. If somebody just grabs a picture of somebody's website without making proper attribution, then you're risking being sued by whoever owns that original picture. Shouldn't really be an issue, because I suspect most designers will probably pick them up off various paid-for sites like Dollar Photo and the like. And it's unlikely that, unless it's a very large part of your cover, that somebody would sue you. But this is something to be aware of for possibly some of the cheaper sites like Fiverr, where you can get a cheap book cover design for $5 or something around that side. But you need to be careful that somebody hasn't cut and pasted something from a design that they don't own just to provide you with a quick cover design. As I say, unless your book is massively successful, it's possible nobody will ever notice. A third option, of course, is to create your own book cover design. This is not impossible to do, and it's the same trade-off that applies to most things in life. You can either spend a lot of time on something and create a high-quality, cheap product, or you can spend money on something and get a high-quality product quickly. Or you can spend no time and no money on something and get a low-quality product. If you're prepared to buy the right equipment to actually create cover design and spend the time to learn graphic design, or maybe you're already a graphic designer, and you want to get into book cover design, but it will take you time to create a decent cover for your book. Adobe Photoshop is one application that people often use for book cover design. It has quite a high learning curve and is not straightforward if you don't know how to use it. A much simpler application, if you did want to create book cover design, is a website called canva.com. This is a very easy to use design tool, but at the moment is free. It does charge for certain images and templates within the Canva process, but they're usually $1 a time. It's actually a very good design tool for doing web banners and blog headings and other things. As I've said before, one of the hard parts to get right is to actually get the text looking professional and lined up. Canva is quite good for making it easy to center text and make it the standard text templates generally look pretty good. It's a lot easier than Photoshop in doing this. But personally, I wouldn't recommend, unless you've already got a design background and are willing to spend the time working on it, to actually try and create your own cover. If you're strapped for cash, I'd look for a cheap pre-made cover and use that. One advantage to going for an expensive custom-made cover is that if the designer is familiar with creating lots of book covers, they will probably be able to give you a lot of guidance as to what actually your cover should look like. If you use a service like 99 Designs, where you're running a competition, then that aspect of it will get lost. You can have a visually nice design, but it may be inappropriate for your particular kind of book. For example, if you have a cover that might be the most beautiful picture of a couple embracing, but actually your book is a science fiction novel, then this may be a totally inappropriate book cover for the target market you're trying to look for. The suggestion said is that if you find a book chart in Amazon that is similar to what your book is about, have a look at the book covers in that category before you get your own book cover designed. I've fallen a little bit foul of this myself. My suspicion is that my Magpies and Magic book cover is incorrect for the audience I'm marketing it to. I love the book cover for it, but it does look a bit too childlike for the young adult, new adult market that I'm aiming for. And I'm sure this has affected the book sales. With regards to the Time Shock novel, which seems to sell well off the cover, but actually isn't necessarily as well written a book as the Magpies and Magic one. I think if you're going to spend money on your book, obviously the two areas I would suggest doing it for are for book covers and editing. But if I had to pick one, I would choose getting a decent book cover done. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a tremendously expensive activity to get a decent book cover for your book. For a paper book, you'll need also the designer to create you a back and spine image for your book. The back is where there will be the text saying about the book. And also they will need to leave space for a barcode. Most print-on-demand services like CreateSpace and Ingram Spark require a barcode to be placed on the back of the book. This is so that if it is sold at a book retailer, they can scan the barcode to know what the ISBN number is for the book. This is usually shoved on the bottom right of the back of the book cover. The other thing to be aware of is that when you see the actual graphic PDF for a book cover design, the back cover is on the left-hand side and the front cover is on the right-hand side. This is obvious if you think about it, because you fold that cover around the book to have the image. But for a naive designer who's never created a book cover, they might put it the other way around. So just be aware that if somebody presents you a cover with the actual front of it on the left, and they've got it the wrong way round, that central spine area has to be the correct width for the number of pages in your book. And this has to be an even number of pages. On the CreateSpace site, there is a formula for how to create this spine width, and I've referred to it in a previous episode. But remember that it always has to be an even number, because of the way that printing works. It has to be an even number of pages that you use to work out that calculation. That spine itself can be used, if the book is fairly large, to create a graphic along it. And this is important if your book is mainly going to be sold in paper form and going into bookstores. A considerable amount of the time, the spine of your book will be the thing that sells it in a bookstore. You'll often see shelves and shelves of books spine out. So it'll be the spine that is the thing that people see. So unlike on Amazon, where the front cover image is the thing that sells your book, in a bookstore, the actual spine is the part that sells the book. An awful lot of indie authors forget this, mainly because they're not focusing on store sales. But if you want a more complete process, then don't forget to make sure your spine is also attractive and well designed. That's it for this week. I'm not entirely sure what next week's episode is going to be about. I'll probably talk about editing and why you should consider hiring professional editors for your book, unless your book is particularly short. I haven't forgotten about the Ingram Spark thing that I promised you. It'll probably be a few weeks before I get round to actually publishing my Magpies and Magic book on Ingram Spark. It's not particularly difficult, but it's more time consuming than I expected. See you guys next week.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed today's show, please stop by iTunes and rate and leave a review. This helps make the show more visible. For free resources, show notes, and other helpful content, join the community at beginselfpublishing.com.